Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Fallout. This is all about wide receivers going into Week 13. If you're only interested in my top waiver wire selections, you can check the timestamp below. Just click on that link. It'll take you right to the waiver wire selections. If you're new to the program, here's what I do. I look at briefly at the projected top 10 wide receivers coming into Week 12 who actually scored well in Week 12. How does that relate? We'll just talk about it. Talk about how should that affect your fantasy teams going forward? Is it a trend? Is it a flash in the pan? And then I'll give my awards for wide receiver this week. We do have the Kicked in the Nuts award. Somebody got me right in the balls. Somebody might have gotten you in the balls, or the proverbial balls. So if somebody got you, I want to know about it. Please comment below. I always love reading about that and commiserating with everybody who watches these videos. And then I have an I'm Watching You award, which is actually going to surprise some people. So stay tuned for that. And then, of course, we'll clean it up with the waiver wire acquisitions at the end here. So let's start. Oh, before I do, please, everybody remember, please like and subscribe to these videos. We want to grow. We need your support to do that. So please, once again, like and subscribe. That would help us out greatly. But now let's look at the projected top 10 for ESPN wide receivers, once again in order, coming into Week 12. Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Lockett, DJ Chark, Julian Edelman, and DJ Moore. Now, who actually scored in the top 10 in wide receivers in Week 12. The ones in white are the ones that did score well. It's Chris Godwin, DJ Moore, Jarvis Landry, A.J. Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, Allen Robinson, Michael Thomas, James Washington, Will Fuller, and Calvin Ridley. So some also runs in there, a lot of guys that are probably on rosters, but you look at an A.J. Brown, you look at a James Washington. I've been talking about these guys for a couple weeks now, especially A.J. Brown and the Tennessee Titans. I really think the Titans are going to make a run. So if you're an against the spread better, if you're looking to invest in a team maybe that has a better offense than you might realize in the back half of the season, I like the Tennessee Titans. I'm definitely buying on them. Their stock is much lower. Will Fuller, no surprise there. His only question mark is whether or not he'll be available week to week. Allen Robinson, I'm not really high on. Jarvis Landry, I think, again, the Cleveland Browns, similar to the Tennessee Titans, are going to ascend in the back half of the season. And Godwin and Moore, they were projected high just because they had great matchups, so I don't think there are any surprises. Now, before we get to the waiver wire acquisitions, I do want to talk about my first award. The Kicked in the Nut award goes to T.Y. Hilton, man. He got me. I thought the projection was pretty good, pretty solid. Thursday Night Football, not great. Honestly, I was surprised that he played, given that he was coming off an injury. Houston handled him. I don't know if he was a little rusty. I don't know if Houston was just ready for it. Those divisional matchups, and especially Thursday night matchups, you can never really tell for sure. But Indianapolis just never got off the ground offensively. It all went through Jonathan Williams, which I wasn't surprised by, but I was surprised at how useless from a fantasy perspective that T.Y. Hilton was. I thought he probably would have got in the end zone. He didn't even sniff it. Now, the I'm Watching You award, this is going to surprise some people, especially people who watch this game, but it's DK Metcalf of Seattle. I've been looking at him for a while, but my question mark coming into Week 12 was how was the acquisition of Josh Gordon going to affect him? Well, if anything, it really, at least against Philadelphia, he had time after time after time deep down the field, opportunities to haul in deep passes, touchdowns and everything. The only problem is he dropped the freaking things. So although I could have put him in the dumpster vomit category, which we didn't use the dumpster vomit award this week, although I could have done the nut kick award, really I just see the potential there. Okay, now I have guys like Russell Gage from Atlanta. I'm watching him as well. I've talked about him before. So he's somebody you should take note of. But DK Metcalf, even with Josh Gordon in this roster, he got a lot of deep passes. He just couldn't haul them in. He didn't haul them in, but he'll be better later. It's not like he's an NFL receiver who's going to be dropping deep balls all the time. It happens. Will Fuller had a game like that earlier in the year. The key is Seattle's throwing to him deep, and he's creating separation downfield. So I like that. It's a lot to like. Now, let's talk about my top waiver acquisitions. I did mention he's not on the list, Russell Gage. I don't want to put him on the list yet, but he finally got a good amount of targets this week against Tampa Bay. If he puts up another week where he has a lot of targets, I'll probably throw him on the list. But let's focus on the ones that I have on here for now. Number one is Deebo Samuel. Got in the end zone again this week, 41% owned. I picked him up last week and started him, so I cashed in on that one. But everybody out there, you can still cash in on him as well. Most likely, he's available in 59% of the leagues. He's only owned in 41. So there you go. Devontae Parker. he still is the only viable Miami Dolphin offensively at this point, so I like him. Sterling Shepard, I do like his potential. He had a decent game. He grabbed 5 balls, not a ton of yardage, but I think Sterling Shepard moving forward throughout the season, keep in mind he was playing Chicago this week, so I didn't love his projection, but I do love him moving forward into the season. Will Fuller, anytime that he's on the field with Houston, it opens things up for DeAndre Hopkins, which then opens more things up for Will Fuller down the field. I actually said he was going to have like a 4-catch, 120-yard type game, no touchdown type game going to Thursday night, and I think he exceeded the amount of catches and amount of yards, but no touchdown. He had that kind of big play type game that we're used to seeing Will Fuller when he's healthy, so I like him. I like him really as a bottom flex for everybody going into their playoff run. I think he's a great pickup. James Washington, I'm a little hot and cold on him because he's, certainly he's available, but he's gotten in the end zone, I think, in the last 2 weeks. They're throwing to him in the middle of the field. That's good, but Pittsburgh is kind of struggling a little bit. We'll see how that goes. Terry McLaurin, I wanted to put on this list. Now, he's owned in nearly 70% of the leagues, but whenever he dropped below 70%, he's still getting a lot of volume. The problem is he's got Dwayne Haskins throwing to him. I saw like 2 or 3, at least 2, maybe 3 easy touchdowns that he had that he created the separation. He was wide open in the end zone, and Haskins missed him. That's not going to happen every time, so I'm not going to freak out. And then also, again, not listed here, Russell Gage, just think about him. Put him on your watch list. I think these guys on this list are better for your fantasy team, but if they're all gone or you want somebody else, Russell Gage, he's drawing targets. Once Austin Hooper comes back, I think his value will recede a little bit, but he's solid there. So again, probably a watch list, but I wouldn't put the waiver claim in on him just yet. So there you go. That takes me through the wide receivers for Week 13 of the Fantasy Football Fallout. Please once again like and subscribe. If somebody kicked you in the nuts, I'd love to hear about it. Please comment in the notes below. And again, we do all the positions, so check out another video. And thanks for watching. We'll catch you again on another episode next week. Thanks.